Hello, hello, and WI. Welcome to Blue or by the Lake, the podcast that explores region life through a blue lens. I'm your host, Tracy Martin, and joining us today is one of my very favorite people on the planet that is not hyperbole. Behold, this is Buffy Adams, better known in the region as the force between our new and already beloved IYG Center, the region's first and only LGBTQ plus teen and young adult center. And she's also our beloved hopium dealer, Buffy. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, Tracy, thanks for having me.
Okay, so tell us about that hopium dealer gig. I'm kind of curious about that.
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me here and excited to talk to you about a few exciting topics. So, yeah, I'm a motivational speaker, author, life coach known as the official hope dealer. And I just encourage people to live authentically and try to spread inspiration, motivation, and a lot of light and love for people to, like I said, live authentically and really spread the news about this brown-skinned, table-flipping, radical rebel who I know and love, social justice Jesus.
God, I miss social justice Jesus. I'm gonna tangent for just a minute.
Sure.
I I remember when Jesus flipped tables on behalf of the poor. When Jesus said, "Love your neighbor like yourself. Welcome
Sure.
the stranger to your table." When kindness was the benchmark by which Christians were measured. I don't know about this, and I swear to God, Buffy, if I hear the words prosperity gospel one more fucking time, I'm gonna lose my mind. Okay? I don't know who this new Jesus that's marching behind the MAGA bandwagon is. I don't know that guy. The Jesus I know would be horrified by what is being said and done in his name.
Yeah.
So, rant over. The nice thing about whenever I hear or see, and as part of the series that we're doing, folks, and you're going to be hearing more about this as we unroll more episodes, we've been speaking to other LGBTQ plus like LGBTQ plus clergy and other people in the region that are affirming, and every time they say something and they talk about God, my heart is just like, thank God, God is still there. God is not gone.
Right.
It's really hard to believe that in this day and age where everything just, all the values that Christians have guided themselves by for millennia seem to have just overnight vanished. It's kind of hard to hold on to hope in that situation.
Sure.
Particularly, like, I mean, for everybody, but for me personally, as I'm the parent of a trans gay teen in Indiana. And I know that this is a group that is extremely near and dear to your heart, Buffy.
Sure.
And you and your work opening that center right after the election was probably one of the only things that could have lifted our hearts with a sense that maybe there are still good things in the world. Tell us a little bit more about your work with IYG and what the center is bringing to the region.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you for all that, Tracy. And we'll circle back to all those feelings about Jesus who is in the Bible and Jesus who has been hijacked as a political football by
Oh yeah.
one political party. So we'll get to that in a second. But absolutely, IYG. Now, I've got to tell you, I have two hats on right now. My love for IYG, the longest running LGBTQ center in the country, and then Buffy the Hope Dealer. So it's important for me to make the distinction that IYG is not religiously affiliated. It has no religious ties. It is not a religious organization at all. But I often say that IYG has to clean up the mess made by religion in many cases. And yeah, so we're just so happy that IYG is open in Northwest Indiana. Hey, listen, we've been in Indianapolis for 40 years, so we've been around the block for quite a while. But to just open a center here in Northwest Indiana at the end of last year, you're right, the timing couldn't have been more perfect because we are full wraparound services at IYG. There's a lot of fun stuff that happens. At our roots, we're still a drop-in center where kids can just, kids and young adults, because we serve 12 to 24-year-olds. This is a place where people can just find a safe space, hang out with like-minded people. There's a lot of fun stuff, art and music and food. And the food, every night we have a hot meal, and that food is actually sponsored by a welcoming and affirming church called Westminster Presbyterian out of Munster. And then there's a lot of great programming too. You know, there's guest speakers that come in. There's career and college counseling. There's field trips. This week there's a great camp going on for regional youth, and that's included everything from going out on field trips to having a lot of fun programming in the center every single day. So IYG is just so happy to be here, and if you haven't been there to visit yet, please book a tour with me or Alejandro, the center supervisor. And if your youth or young adult hasn't been there yet, Monday right now is 12 to 18-year-olds, and Wednesdays are 18 to 24-year-olds. A lot of great stuff happening at IYG Northwest Indiana, and it's just a great place to visit. When you walk in and see those big LGBTQ purple couches, you know you're in the right place.
You really do. Now, full disclosure, folks, my trans gay teen is a participant in IYG programs, and I'll tell you, seeing my own child go there and come home with that look of people there get me, it lifts my heart every single time. And if you're a parent of a gay kid or a trans kid, you know how hard it is to get that feeling. I never have to worry when I drop them off at IYGs because I know they're there with people who are going to respect them, embrace them. They're with tribe. And finding that it's sanctuary. It is sanctuary in the region for the LGBTQ youth and young adults. And unfortunately, for a lot of kids and young adults in the region like that, that has not been the case up until now. Now, Buffy, I'm sure you've heard about the case of a local region teen and had some serious issues with a Pentecostal church in the last weeks. A lot of stories have broken about this. For our listeners here who may not be familiar with the story, I will be posting links to the coverage about it. But for our purposes now, this is a teen who was kicked out of his leadership role in a local church's youth group for being gay. And then a year and a half later, when he was no longer affiliated with that church and had found a new home church and was thriving there, his old church outed him to a summer camp, and he got kicked out there. This experience really kind of hit the community hard because we were all kind of shocked that this could happen. But Buffy, does this surprise you?
You know, unfortunately not, because the church has taken on this personality of judge and jury and God, and really has weaponized the Bible and the religious experience in so many ways. So it doesn't surprise me, but it still hurts and shocks me in terms that it could still happen today. Listen, Jesus was super clear that you would know his true followers by their fruit. And I think the reason he said that is because he knew that there was going to be people that were faking and posers and people that did not represent him. So when he pointed out in the gospel that, listen, you're going to know my real followers by their fruit. Just look for these characteristics and you'll know if they belong to me. And those things were love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control and joy. And so those 9 fruits of the Spirit, you have to ask yourself, for a church to kick a young person out who is faithful and serving and loving God and following Jesus, for them to get kicked out, you have to ask yourself, where's the fruit of the Spirit there? And I'm not going to pass any judgment on anybody else because that's not my place to do so. But I'll just point everybody to the fruit of the Spirit. And Jesus said, if they don't have these things, they're not a true follower of mine. So, where's that patience and love and joy and gentleness in a church that kicks out a young LGBTQ teen?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Um, so something not everybody may know about you, Buffy, and let's put your dealer hat back on. Um, you are an ordained minister, correct?
Well, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I just have probably one exam to do and I have to get them my transcripts from my Purdue University Calumet, and then I'll have a master's degree in ministry and business. So we're
Oh,
talking just a couple months away now.
oh, has there ever been a better time for you to be hitting the ministry? Because, oh, I cannot think of anybody better suited to serve in a role like that. Um, So, Buffy, as you know, there are other Indiana churches that have been making headlines recently for LGBTQ plus attacks, including
Yeah.
one that's openly advocating violence against LGBTQ plus community members, which is,
Yeah.
oh, like,
Yeah.
it's been 6 months, folks, 6 months. So,
Yeah, and listen, this is where we have to draw the distinction, Tracy, between Christian Christ followers, who's following that brown-skinned radical rebel Jesus who loved the oppressed and marginalized communities, and what kind of churches are following Christian nationalism. And many of your listeners and viewers might not be familiar with Christian nationalism, but I've got to tell you, if you have any awareness of Project 2025 at all, and many of us do, that is being driven by Christian nationalist leaders. And this has been a long game for them. They've been working this angle for decades, and it's happening. So when you hear a church talking like that, Christian nationalists, this is what makes them so scary. They believe that they have a right to do and say anything, including death to anybody who doesn't agree with their doctrine. And that's what makes them super scary. They think that they're mandated by God. And that's where we have to start pointing out to people that that is not Christianity. Christian nationalism takes faith and distorts it. And it takes this beautiful message of love and compassion and forgiveness and the heart of God and really twists it into a message of judgment and condemnation and exclusion. Christian nationalism prioritizes power and political influence over spiritual integrity and ethical conduct and love your neighbor and hospitality. And what really is unfortunate about Christian nationalism, for years and years, as they've attacked marginalized groups, including LGBTQ people, they've driven a wedge in between the true love of God and the acceptance of Jesus and the church, because the church just looks like hypocritical, hateful, judgmental people. And that's exactly what Christian nationalism is. It misrepresents the teachings of Jesus to justify a political agenda. It really reduces the complex and challenging teaches of the gospel and makes it political talking points and gives them a mandate to hurt people and kill people.
I'm pretty sure that the answer to this question is like, oh, yeah, of course. But do you think that the current administration has emboldened these attacks against the LGBTQ plus community?
Absolutely. I mean, as I just, we kind of talked about a little bit ago, Christian nationalism really feels that they have the mandate from this twisted version of faith in God to do whatever it takes to have their beliefs rise up and take over political power. And that includes anything from injuring people to killing people. So the administration in office, many of them hold Christian national beliefs. And that's exactly the dangerous time we're in right now, that they think that they could do whatever it takes. Moral and ethical compass is out the window. Love your neighbor of Jesus is out the window. It truly is a fight to tear down democracy and rebuild under this Christian nationalist umbrella.
Remember when we all said Project 2025? Oh my God, those crazy old kooks. No, you know, I like to consider myself to be a reasonable person, not really. When I see something that smells kind of like a little conspiracy theory, I'm usually like, okay, now let's slow our roll a little bit. But, you know, damned if that Project 2025 isn't rolling out just exactly as they hoped it would. Um, but I guess one of the questions that I've never yet been able to quite find an answer for is why do you think so many Christians perceive of the LGBTQ plus community as a threat?
Yeah, and that goes all the way back to, it's what their preacher and it's what their Bible has been telling them, unfortunately. What they don't understand is the word homosexual wasn't even in the Bible until the mid to late 1940s, and it really didn't take hold in many translations until the 70s. So there's a whole underpinning of mistranslations and retranslations, and if people truly understood that even some of the people who put that into translations, I think 1946 was the first time the word homosexual even made it into a translation. And there is so much regret on some of those people's parts. There's a great documentary that talks about this, that there was actual yelling fights over putting the word homosexual in there because they knew that it was a mistranslation that was going to change the culture forever. And unfortunately, we know who won that fight. It was the people who wanted to put the word homosexual in the Bible as a mistranslation.
What was the word it was intending to replace?
There's a couple different words, and one was a Greek word that I can't even pronounce, but what it was meant was, don't be soft. Don't be, one version of it was, don't be soft and don't overindulge in things. And it wasn't meant to be, what it
Oh.
turned out to be at all. And like I said, I would encourage your listeners and viewers, go check out that documentary. It's called 1946, and it is so powerful that really lays out all the details on how that mistranslation changed culture forever. And
Mm.
unfortunately, if you're being told by your preacher, your pastor, your Bible, your church, that that's the way it is, unfortunately, so many people took that word over the red letters in the Bible that all belong to Jesus. And never once did Jesus talk about homosexuality or any marginalized people. He didn't ask one single person that he healed, what's your faith, what's your gender, what's your sexuality. He never asked that question. He loved, he healed, and had relationship with the oppressed. And that's who we should be following, not the words of our pastors or preachers that just got it wrong for decades and decades. And at the hands of that, so many LGBTQ people have lost out on a relationship with Jesus, and also just lost their lives because they were told a false narrative that God didn't love them and Jesus wasn't for them. And so many churches in the region and around the country and around the world are working to change that right now. Right here in Northwest Indiana, we have, close to a dozen, if not more, it's growing all the time. A dozen faith leaders and churches and temples came together, and they were the main sponsor of Northwest Indiana Pride this year. So talk about sending a message to the community that we love you, you're accepted. We're going to sponsor Northwest Indiana Pride, and we're going to put our faith out on display. And the cool thing, Tracy, their goal wasn't to convert anybody. Their goal was not to say, we need you to become Christian. If you don't, God doesn't love you. It wasn't about conversion at all. It was about telling the truth about a God who loves you. You all do with that what you will.
I that fact alone it gives you so much hope.
Yes.
I guess you really do have the right gig. Because I'm telling you, the fact that so again, folks, just so you know, we've got some interviews coming from local ministers that are LGBTQ plus affirming, and I cried in every single one because it just, you don't realize how deeply your heart is hungry for that connection to the God that you know is there and loves people and shares your values. And in this sea, we all, people really, I think, underestimate the impact that a culture shift can have on you. Holding your compass to knowing what's right when everything around you is saying, nope, this is how it is now. This is how it is now. You learn about that stuff in college, and you learn about cognitive dissonance, but until you're in it and everything that you believe and hold dear runs contrary to what everyone who's in charge is saying is important, the disconnect from that, your brain is always trying to fill the gap between that, because we are programmed as humans to want to be integrated into society. And when our society doesn't match us, that disconnect it causes a constant daily realigning of your thinking. And just hearing from people like, no, no, God does not hate gay people. God does not hate black people. God
Right,
wants women to vote. He doesn't
right.
want women to not have health care. It's so refreshing to your soul, and you don't even
Yeah.
know that your soul is starving for that rain.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
it's
Tracy, gosh, you are so right. Like, because so many of us in the community and so many, all marginalized communities. I mean, let's get real. Christian nationalism is just another word for white supremacy. And
yes.
if you go back all the way to the birth of the Ku Klux Klan, the majority of those people were preachers and police officers. And so that is in our roots, and that is in our generational trauma is a super real thing. So when you start speaking the truth about a God who loves everybody and a Jesus that has a heart for everybody, and really start telling that truth, that starts to do something in your soul. And I think a lot of people don't really know what to do with that because we've been told the opposite for so long. We've been told those lies for so long. And I tell you what, I truly believe that a lot of that is even by design, Tracy, because I think that people who know the power of a relationship with Jesus, you mix that with the good heart of so many of us that didn't think we could have a relationship with Jesus or that God didn't love us. But if that power starts coming to life and that truth starts coming to life with the hearts that we all have, the power is unstoppable. So I
Mhm.
think that also in just the mix of that whole Christian nationalist thing, they know the power of Jesus and they don't want anybody else to have it, but then they've missed it for themselves too because of the way that they're living and what they believe.
And they also know what happens when Jesus is powerfully yoked to a social cause for
You got
social
it.
justice. I mean,
You got
Martin
it.
Luther King was the preacher man,
You
and
got
that
it.
entire movement was deeply embedded in religious roots. So they don't want that power yoked by anybody again.
You got it. And that's why these churches that were a part of, even the civil rights movement, they were brave and bold. And then these churches that are speaking out now and being welcoming and affirming to the LGBTQ plus community, that is bravery and that is boldness. And because you can believe that they're setting themselves up for a lot of attack, and it just doesn't matter to them because they know the end of the story, and they know that Jesus is on their side and they're Holy Spirit driven, and that's why they're so bold enough to do it. And I just encourage everybody to go to the Northwest Indiana Pride, NWI Pride, either Facebook page or website. That whole service is live streamed. And I'm telling you, the messages from these pastors or a couple rabbis from the Jewish community, their words are so powerful. There was a lot of apologies. There was a lot of, sorry, we got it wrong. Let's get on the right track. We love you. God loves you. The message from all these different faith communities, including also a Unitarian church was there as well. powerful, powerful words. And if you really want to fill yourself up and drown out all the hate from the Christian nationalisms or the death threats or all that other stuff, we have got to fill ourselves up. Listen, we have to be grounded in reality. We have to be aware of what's going on. Democracy is under attack. But I also believe the only thing greater than fear is hope. And we have to be feeding ourselves with things that give us hope. And those messages from those faith leaders at Northwest Indiana Pride on day 2, it's all online. Fill yourself up with those messages from those faith leaders, because it is powerful stuff, things you've never heard before. And now let's fill us up with hope and truth.
So, everyone, just so you know, I will have links to all of the resources Buffy mentioned today. And Buffy, I cannot thank you enough for joining us today. Do you have any last words for the teen that we talked to today, or anyone in the community looking to find connection, spiritual or otherwise, someplace where they can belong?
Yeah. You know, listen, we grow up being told that we have to listen to our parents, we have to listen to authority figures, and sometimes that's right. But if authority figures or your parents or your church or your teachers are hurting you and not letting you live authentically, sometimes you can't listen to them. You have to find sources that are gonna fill you up and let you live authentically and safely. And those sources can be places like IYG, Porter County Outreach, Crown Counseling, and Crown Point has a great system as well. All of these churches that you're going to put links to, and faith communities. We have got to continue to fill ourselves up with truth and hope, and I hope Buffy, your official hope dealer, will be one of them. Follow me on Facebook, Buffy Adams, and you'll see the hope dealer stuff. I try to do a daily or every other day hope nugget to really fill people up. Any marginalized communities right now, it is a very scary time for us. They're coming for us. Their goal is to really get rid of so much of our light and love. And so now is the time to get active, understand what's happening, get involved. And with all that activism and all the action we're taking, we have to keep filling ourselves up with hope, though. We can't become like them and become bitter and hard and angry, because that's not who we are. We are love and light, and we have to keep filling ourselves up with that while we fight the fight for democracy.
And what else can I say to that? Buffy, you have lifted my heart today. I'm sure you're going to lift a lot of hearts. Thank you so much for joining us today. And folks, that's pretty much it. Let's call it a wrap. Be sure to check out all of our other episodes in this special week. We're going to be trying to drop one every couple days. It's going to explore a bunch of different religious resources in the LGBT community in the region, so that everybody knows that God is with you, you are not alone, and you have a place where you belong. And in the meantime, stay safe, and we'll see you at the lake. Bye.